and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And a little warning, today it's not going to be very pretty. This is Ozzy, or if you want to go by his full name, it's Ozzy Osbourne. I'm going to talk about Ozzy, Patient Number 9, and it's not going to be pretty. I'll tell you right off the bat, I have really nothing good to say about this album. Before I get to the album specifically, I'll talk about Ozzy more broadly. Ozzy is one of the, and it hurts to talk about Ozzy like this, or to talk about an Ozzy record or Ozzy's music like this. For me, other than Kiss, who I got into in 1976, Ozzy is maybe he was probably the first real musical character. Man, I loved Ozzy. He was my first concert ever. I saw the Bark of the Moon tour in April. It was April 25th, 1984. In Toronto, Maple Leaf Gardens, and Ozzy was just this. I got into Black Sabbath in 1980, and Ozzy was, this larger than life figure, kind of cartoonish, but in an evil way, but in a good evil way. He was Ozzy. The madman is back. He says that on Speak of the Devil, and he was the madman, and he was crazy. He shaved his head, and he was biting the heads off various animals. I think he did a bat and a dove, and maybe an armadillo, I think, at some point. And he was killing animals, and he was sacrificing babies and everything. And Ozzy was a really cool guy to be into. He was on drugs, he was drunk, he was crazy. And he was a really big figure in my life musically. Now, the last Ozzy record I bought was No More Tears, all the way back in 1991 or 92. I think it was 91, No More Tears. Never got into it. I never liked that album. Diary of a Madman is my favorite Ozzy record, one of my top 10, maybe even top 5 records ever. I love Diary of a Madman. And then at some point, this happens all the time with music or other things in life, you just kind of lose interest in it for whatever reason. And I didn't dislike Ozzy after that, but I did kind of lose interest. Now, he's done, so this is, and I've got it here. And I should say hello and thank you to Miguel, my friend Miguel. He gave me this, and I'm glad that I didn't have to pay for it, because I'm not sure how much it would have been worth to pay for it. Miguel gave me this. He was here in Mexico. He's from California. He was here in the middle of November, and he gave me a bunch of records, and this Patient Number 9 was one of them, and I'm going to get to it. So getting back to Ozzy and my history and my life and my love for Ozzy's music. At some point, I just kind of, put him in the past. I didn't dislike him, but I just lost interest and hadn't bought an Ozzy record for a long time. And I don't know if he's going to ever do another one. At this point, probably not. So this, for me, will be the last Ozzy record probably that I ever have and that he ever records. What else can I say? Ozzy is just, he's a very likable guy. He's, I know his wife. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I really like Ozzy, and I feel bad. Not that he's going to see this or anything, but, not that he cares what anybody, including me, thinks. Maybe he cares what I think. But I feel bad talking bad about Ozzy, but I am about to. Now, I hadn't listened to one note of this record until an hour ago, a little bit more than an hour ago. I just finished listening to it 10 minutes ago. And, oh, yikes. Oh, my God. So I had to take notes, and I've got the notes with me here. And I think for the first time, not just for the track by track, but I despite the fact that this album really stinks, I do have I'll try to explain why I think it stinks. I don't want to just say this album sucks. I'll try to articulate it. But I do need notes for it. This is the first time I had to write notes for my thoughts about the album. First of all, now going back to his last album, which was Ordinary Man, which I know this much more about this album. When Ozzy did Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, and I guess even Bark at the Moon and Ultimate Sin and No More Tears, it was Ozzy solo. It was the name Ozzy Osbourne. He was no longer in Black Sabbath, of course, but you still kind of got the impression that it was a band. He had, it rotated a little bit. Guys were coming in and out, but it did feel like a band. The guys that were writing the songs and playing the songs and touring behind that album were mostly the same core group, although there were some discrepancies with songwriting, and there were some, ghost musicians, and guys' pictures appeared that didn't play on the album, but still it felt like a band. And then with Ordinary Man, which came out, I guess, 2019, 2020. This Patient Number 9 came out last year, I think, or 2022, I'm not sure. It felt to me, it felt like piecework. It's just a bunch of guys. Every song has different guys playing on it. There's, I guess, guest stars, if you want to call them that. And maybe that shouldn't matter, but I think just mentally, when I know that it seems that there was no cohesion, if that's the word, it just seems to me like, like it was done, not like a bunch of guys going into a studio and doing it. And again, maybe that shouldn't matter, but just a bunch of guys like, okay, you do your part, and then you do your part, and we'll piece it all together. And that kind of affects my subconsciously. I don't say I don't like that, so I don't like this music, but subconsciously it does kind of creep into the way you think about the album. This reminds me of Chinese Democracy. I talked about that when I did Chinese Democracy, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something, that every song has, different guys playing on it and different writers and everything like that. And I think especially the producer of this, Andrew Watt, who produced and toured with Eddie Vedder. He produced the last Eddie Vedder record and toured with Eddie Vedder, his band. He produced this record, and as far as I can remember, he played, I think, most of the guitar on this record. He played, I think, maybe some bass, maybe even some drums. I guess he's a good musician, but for me as a metal fan, I think we like bands, and just the fact that it was the producer, because I think Andrew Watt is maybe more known as a producer than as a musician. I don't think he's known as a member of any band. I don't know too much about the guy. But it's like Bob Rock playing bass on Saint Anger. When you see the producer or know about the producer just playing the records, it just felt like like a fill-in. I don't know if I articulated that properly, but this album does feel like just like it was just pieced together. So that was one thing. Now the other thing, I do remember this. Oh, it's just too fucking long. My God. It was, I sat down outside to listen to it just before I did this video. So that was about 3 hours ago. And I did note the time. I'm very mindful of time. And this record was over an hour for sure. Maybe it's close to 64, 65 minutes. And it's a long 64, 65, 62 minutes, whatever. It was really long. It was arduous, I think is the word, to listen to this album. It felt like a chore. I'll maybe talk about that when I get to the track by track. But it just felt like tedious and like a chore. Like it wasn't enjoyable to listen to this record. It's just far too long. Even I think with great songs, if you like them, 60 whatever minutes to listen to a record, it's a long time. What else can I say about this? Just like every song to me, it just sounded the same. I don't mean literally, but there were no dynamics. Nothing stood out as being great. Nothing caught my attention. There wasn't one song, not even one part of one song that caught my attention. Ozzy sounds the same on every song. There's definitely some doctoring going on with Ozzy's voice. It sounds, I don't know if it sounds auto-tuned. I don't know about that, but it just doesn't. It sounds like there was something done to Ozzy's voice. It just bugs me a little bit. And he sounds the same on every song. And every song is, some are a little bit more rocker than others. Some of them are a little bit slower or somewhat ballad adjacent. But overall, there's not a lot of dynamics happening on this album. And I couldn't get into it, and I can't speak for anybody else. I'm sure there are some people out there that love this record. Maybe even some crazy people who would call this the best Ozzy album ever. But I just can't see it. I can't imagine ever listening to this record again. I listened to it digitally today, and when I open it, maybe I will, just out of loyalty, give it the actual record a listen. But I just can't imagine getting into this album. I can't imagine anybody listening to this album so much to the point that they're familiar with the lyrics and singing along. I just can't see that happening. And it makes me wonder, getting back to Sharon Osbourne, who I briefly mentioned earlier, I don't know if she's kind of, I don't know, carting Ozzy out there, if she's putting him up to this. Like, when I was listening to this, I was wondering, is Ozzy even into this? Does Ozzy even like music now? I know he likes performing live, but I don't know, like, does Ozzy enjoy the process of making a record these days? I don't know, and I guess it doesn't matter. And everybody else who played on this, which was Duff McKagan, Taylor Hawkins, Mike McCready, Jeff Beck, for God's sake, Eric Clapton, Zach Wilde, Tony Iommi. Like, I wonder, are any of them, and maybe it's a stupid thing to think about, but are they proud? Like, do they, sit around and wonder, or think, I'm so happy that I played that Ozzy record. It's the excuse me, the pinnacle of my career. I get the feeling, and I can't explain why, but they just kind of did it, as a favor, or just because they're musicians and it's their job to play music. But I just can't imagine, not that they're ashamed of it, but I wonder, is anybody proud that they played on this record? And again, I feel bad saying that because it's Ozzy and I love Ozzy. But I guess that's about it as an album in general. Now I will get to the track by track, and first I'm going to open it up. Now this one, and here's the hype sticker, and if you want to know why they call them hype stickers, look no further than this. I mean, if you look at this, the new album with special guest artists Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Taylor Hawkins, Tony Iommi, Mike McCready, Duff McKagan, Chad Smith, I forgot to mention him, Robert Trujillo, Zach Wilde. You think, oh my God, that's an incredible lineup of musicians. And none of them stand out on this record. If I listen to this record without knowing this, I would never say, oh, that sounds like that sounds like Eric Clapton playing, or that sounds like Taylor Hawkins drumming. I just, it seems like it could have been anybody playing on these. And before I open this, something that I wondered about, I don't know if these guys, especially Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Tony Iommi, Mike McCready, I don't know if they actually played. I think not. I get the feeling, and I guess I would have to look at the liner notes, that Andrew Watt played the guitars on all of the album, and then these guys just did solos. I just can't imagine Mike McCready played whatever song he played on, or Jeff Beck. I have a feeling they were just solos, and the producer Andrew Watt played everything, all the rhythm. There's no riffs that stand out. And maybe the best thing about this record, I guess, is that it's a Target exclusive. It's a transparent red and black vinyl, and maybe that's the best thing. And you can see it was on clearance, Miguel. It was $24.99, marked down to $17.49. And I think Miguel told me when he scanned it, it scanned at like $8 or $9 or something. So a lot of pretty stickers on there. And I don't know, I guess maybe it doesn't live up to the hype, literally the hype from the hype sticker. All right, so let me open this up. Oh, it's I can do it this way. I didn't need a knife. It's one of these ones. All right. And I'll put this over here. I always put it over there. I'll put it over here for a change. What do you think about that? So there it is. Oh, and this is a double album. My God, again, because it's so long. And there's the back, by the way. And even the album cover, I guess. Whatever. It's a picture of Ozzy looking kind of pensive. I don't know. He doesn't look like Mike Pence. He looks pensive. Let's see what's inside here. All right. So it's a couple of... Oh yeah, so it's black paper sleeves, and the records. Let's see what is it called? Red and black marble or red and black swirl? Red and black marble vinyl. All right, much more red than black, but that's what it looks like. And I guess the other one is the same. All right, not too much black. I'm not sure about the marbling, but. There it is. It looks cool, I guess. And I used to be very against this color vinyl. I thought it's stupid. Who cares? You're not looking at it. But I kind of like it now, I have to admit. It's nice for a change. Let's see what else is in here. And it is a double album, but it's not a gatefold. And there's something in here, an insert. All right. This is the lyrics to the many songs. 13 songs on here. Really, really small print. Impossible to read, I think. And I've got bionic eyes. And I think even I can't read this. Here's some liner notes. Very, very difficult to read. I don't know. I'll maybe take a look at some point later. I'll put these over here. So I'll just hold the record jacket up. So going through this, actually I can just use my notepad. And I don't have much to say about all these songs. Now the first one is Immortal. And I'll come back to this later, I think. I said, okay, it's kind of a rock song. It's a rocker. It's not too bad. To me, it sounded like they were kind of trying to be or hoping to be like classic Ozzy. One of the lyrics was, I'll never die because I'm immortal, which reminded me of I Don't Want to Stop, I think from Scream, whatever the album that was, or Osmosis. Lyrically, it reminded me of that. Mike McCready plays on this one. He's credited with playing. I think he just plays the solo because it says on here on the back. So Immortal featuring Mike McCready. Patient number 9 featuring. I'll do it from here. Patient number 9. I'll do these as I get to them. So I'll stay with Immortal for now. So it's Mike McCready. I'm gonna guess he just plays the solo. I don't think he plays the rhythm guitars or all the guitars. So it's Mike McCready kind of meddling it up, and Pearl Jam is arguably my favorite band. So I liked that Mike McCready was playing on this. His solo is, I guess it's good. And Immortal it's okay, I guess, this song. The next song is the title track, Patient number 9. Stop scratching my furniture. Patient number 9 is the title track, and it features Jeff Beck. I would never know that if it didn't say so here. I can't identify anything Jeff Beck does. It's the longest song on the record. It's 7 minutes and 21 seconds. It just doesn't go anywhere. You know, when you see a song that's 7 minutes and 21 seconds, you expect some up and down and different dynamics and everything. And it's just 7 minutes and 21 seconds of kind of nothing. Just a nothing song. Next is Parasite featuring Zakk Wylde. Now Zakk Wylde, I guess when they say feature, now she's scratching over here. Do you have any cats? Don't you get tired of them? They drive you crazy sometimes. So I guess, Zakk at this point, he was a featured guy. He wasn't the main guy. It's a rocker. It's kind of a rock song. It's also just kind of nothing stood out to me about that. That's all I have to say about Parasite. Next is No Escape From Now, featuring Tony Iommi. And it's kind of a trap. You maybe think, wow, Ozzy and Tony Iommi back together, it's Black Sabbath. And you'll be very disappointed. Again, I am very familiar with Tony Iommi and Black Sabbath. One of my favorite bands. I would never know that he played on this. If there's no Tony Iommi sound here, no Tony Iommi style. It's a little bit slower, it's a little bit heavy, and it's 6 minutes and 47 seconds also of it's just another song. Nothing to this song. Next is One of These Days featuring who? Featuring Eric Clapton. This is one of these days. This is one of those days that I don't believe in Jesus. And at this point, this is the 5th song, and at this point I was starting to go, there's still 8 more songs to go. Already 5 songs in, I was pretty bored of it. Next is 1,000 Shades featuring Jeff Beck. Oh yeah, Jeff Beck plays on 2 songs. Okay, so 1,000 Shades was featuring Jeff Beck. It's kind of a quiet song. It's not a ballad, but it was kind of a quiet song. And just really boring again. Nothing about it caught my attention. Next is Mr. Darkness featuring Zakk Wylde. And I wrote on here, if you can see this, I just wrote that it's the same shit again. It just sounded like all the other songs. Next is Nothing Feels Right. For this one I wrote same fucking shit. So the last song was same shit. This one is same fucking shit. And that's Nothing Feels Right, featuring also Zakk Wylde again. Next is Evil Shuffle, also featuring Zakk Wylde. And my note for this song is, holy shit, is this record ever going to end? That's what I had to say when I got to the 9th song, Evil Shuffle. 10 is Degradation Rules, also again featuring Tony Iommi. There's a harmonica in the song, which is really the first sign that there was something different on here. But other than that, again, it's a nothing song to me. Next, and after all that, there's still 3 more songs. Dead and Gone, which is kind of what I was beginning to wish that I was at this point when I listened to this record. At this point, I wrote that, I don't know if you can see it, I give up. I just was so tired, and I was going to just say, fuck it, I know enough. I can talk about this record. But I made the commitment, and I wanted to see it through. But Dead and Gone was, again, just a nothing song. God Only Knows, slow and boring, and I guess at this point I was asking myself, God only knows why I'm still listening to this shit. And then the last song is Dark Side Blues. This is insult to injury is what this is. It's the last song. Just when you think it's over, they had a filler song. It's an hour. I was going to say an hour and 48 minutes. It felt like that. It's 1:48 of there's harmonica in it, just like what other song had harmonica? Degradation Rules. It's an hour and 48 minutes of just filler, unnecessary. The album was already at this point about an hour. Why tack on another 1:48 at the end? Yeah, so that's it. Very, very, I hate to say it, but just an incredibly disappointing record. Maybe you can't be disappointed if you didn't have expectations, and I didn't have any for this since I hadn't bought an Ozzy record in 30 years, 31, 32 years. But it's still Ozzy, and I can't help but be disappointed that this is what he's putting out these days. And I would imagine, I would say the same thing if I listened to Ordinary Man. I guess it's the same thing. It's Andrew Watt. Maybe this is maybe like a true solo album. You know, instead of a band, there's one guy and he gets all these musicians. And I don't like it. And it's not even that it's bad, although I think it is. It's just that it's definitely not good. That's for sure. My cat seems to agree with me. She's looking at me saying, "You're still talking about this schlock?" Yeah? All right. So that's it. A very, very disappointing album. And I think it's not going to be too often I talk about albums that I don't like. I do thank Miguel for giving me this. It's cool to have another Ozzy record in my collection. So thank you, Miguel. But it's really, really not a good one. But there it is. Not recommended. Ozzy, patient number 9.